From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt. This is Weather or Not, and it's Tuesday, January 20th. Coming up on today's show, we are talking snow, wind, cold, wind chill, and we'll see what we can do about getting the weather pattern. Just trying to download a couple of graphics. Having a hard time getting the longer range pattern, we'll say, to download on our graphic system, so I might have to cheat and look online for a couple of things to show that pattern, depending on how much time we have left by the time we get to that part of the show. But here's what's going on for today. We have another clipper running through the area. That will help bring in the snow. You may have noticed that it's a little farther south than what it was showing yesterday. In fact, I'm just going right into that graphic because I do want to take out the surface features there, and then I'll let it run through, just so we can see where the snow is. So there's that low. I got rid of that low so we can see where the snow is. Later this afternoon, eastern, southeastern KELOLAND, probably the best chance to see these snow showers. Not to say it can't snow or won't be snowing, west or northwest of that area, because sure, it can be. We are looking at scattered snow, or that increasing chance we have at seeing snow as we do go throughout the day today. And you see it across southeastern KELOLAND later this afternoon and heading into the evening hours. This is the first one that runs through. Flurries in our forecast maybe for tonight. Otherwise, tomorrow, with that Arctic front that's coming in from the northwest, we'll try to squeeze out whatever moisture we have available, and that will bring in another round of flurries and snow showers for tomorrow. You see how those do run through. And as long as I have that pause point in here for the afternoon, okay, I kind of do, around 5 or 6 o'clock. Let me go ahead and take this full. It, again, is showing these streaks of snow during the afternoon. This is when we could easily have northwest winds gusting over 40, getting close to 50 miles per hour. So we will have to watch these areas here with our strong northwest winds. Areas of blowing snow will have to be monitored as well. So again, another round of very strong winds will make their way through all of KELOLAND for tomorrow. And with any snow that we have on the ground from today, and it can range anywhere from good average around an inch to maybe 2 inches for some of us, can see snowfall around, or at least approach 2 inches for today. And then maybe another round of some snows coming in for Wednesday, more or less snow showers, better chance for, I would say, more widespread accumulation, which again will be light for today. And the winds won't be as strong today as compared to what's expected for tomorrow. Though I should mention western South Dakota will eventually see some stronger winds for this afternoon and evening. So as we show you those streaks of snow for Wednesday, Thursday is looking dry, and in comes the bitter cold by Friday morning. That's when we do expect to see those temperatures in the teens, 20s below, across eastern KELOLAND. You throw in any wind, and we'll talk about those wind chills coming up in a later segment. Here's our snowfall forecast, and this takes us through tomorrow. Now, if you watched yesterday's show, and I'll go through a couple of the forecast models in another segment coming up. If you watched yesterday's show, we did mention that these clippers, when they've been coming through for much of this, winter, even extending into November, they've been tugged a little bit farther to the south. And I think this one is showing that. So that's why I wasn't overly surprised to see this, to see those numbers tick up a little bit. Yesterday we were saying, maybe around an inch. I still think that's a good average for many. But, 1 to 2, of that range there between 1 to 2, not to say that everybody that you see that 1 to 2 will get 2 inches of snowfall. Maybe some enhanced amounts will fall across southwestern Minnesota. You can get an isolated, maybe 2 to 3. But again, a good average I would say 1. Some areas may get a little bit more than an inch, and they can approach 2 inches for snowfall. And that would play a big role as to what happens by the time we do get into Wednesday, because of Wednesday's very strong northwest winds, able to pick up that loose snow and blow it around. Forecast for today. As I mentioned, we'll have this increasing chance for snow as we go through the day. It will run in from the northwest. You see the chances are in there anywhere from 30% for Rapid City up to 80% Sioux Falls. And those areas where we are missing those numbers, such as Huron, Brookings, Worthington, Spencer, those are running as high as about 100% chance to see snow. Again, it'll be later today, heading into the evening for the snows across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. And the winds will be light. Keep that in mind, too. Light winds, central, eastern KELOLAND. They will increase across western South Dakota. For tonight, temperatures not as cold as the past couple of mornings. Will fall to the single digits, lower teens for a good portion of the area. We may have a couple of scattered flurries or snow showers still in the air. The additional accumulations for the overnight hours will stay very, very light, if any additional accumulation at all. And then another round of snow showers, we'll call them. Snow showers will move through for tomorrow. Could be a setup much like what we had on Friday and then again on Sunday, where we get these bursts of snow to move through. In between that, we could have periods of sunshine. You will notice the strong winds coming in from the west and northwest. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these wind gusts over 40, approaching 50 miles per hour in southeastern KELOLAND. Now, they will be stronger in the western South Dakota, as you do notice northwest winds. We have in the forecast at 30 up to 60 miles per hour for western KELOLAND. Coming up after the break here, we'll talk more about this snow and the wind that will run through. We'll run through a couple of computer models, too, to better show you the reason why I came up with the forecast that I did. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Snow and wind. I would say snow and wind for the next couple of days. Anyway, western South Dakota, they'll have wind today. Snow will have that increasing chance for snow for just about everybody as we do go through the day today. Mention the accumulations, and we'll run through a couple of the computer models, too, as to what they are showing us. So here's a look at our in-house Barron model, and as you can see, it does have those 1 to 2 inch amounts across northwestern South Dakota, as well as seeing the 1 to 2 inch amounts in the eastern and southeastern KELOLAND, and it wants to bring things in around, we'll say less than an inch central KELOLAND. Okay, that's, I think I could have 5 in this sequence here. So the resolution on this model, not as great, but more or less it's kind of showing the same thing, around an inch or two across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. It has that from Watertown south to include Sioux Falls, Worthington, and Spencer, still looking at amounts less than an inch in central South Dakota. The European model shows amounts of around an inch or two. So it seems like, you know, we'll say around an inch, the high range coming in at 2 inches from 3 models that I just showed you. So you do see those 1 to 2 inch ranges, we'll say, across eastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, and northwestern Iowa. Kind of matches well with what I showed you with our amounts around 1 to 2 inches stretching from northwestern South Dakota to southeastern KELOLAND. Here's the American model. This is the GFS, and the range here of 1 to 2 in Brookings. We also have that showing up for Worthington and Spencer. So I think you get the idea here as we continue to show another American model. This one brings in the higher end totals, much like what it did yesterday into northeastern South Dakota. Those 1 to 2 inch, again, it's showing up as 1 to 2. We're not getting those amounts of, I think we had the Canadian, which I think we'll get to in a bit. Yesterday it was showing, 4 to 7 in Watertown. So I'm not seeing those numbers as of yet. Here's the Canadian. Nope, it does bring in a higher end total of 2 to 4. That comes in from Brookings, Marshall, and areas to the south. So the Canadian model, again, a little bit more aggressive as compared to the other ones. Still looking at that, that range of 1 to 2. I would say that's still a good average. I think many may come in at around an inch, but with that range of going up to 2, of course, we could see amounts a little bit more than an inch. And here's a look at the short-term American model. As you can see, it brings in a 2 to 4 in Worthington. I think some of those numbers, say north central, northeastern South Dakota, and again, we're not talking huge numbers or big differences, but I think that the track of this, much like what we've seen throughout much of the winter and even extending back to the end of November when we've had these clippers run through, the trend is to bring this or tug it to the south, and that's what we saw from yesterday to today. And that's the reason why I have the numbers of what I do with our snowfall forecast right here of saying, okay, good average is one inch. Okay, that's just our average. We can get a couple of areas that can get a little bit more than that. That's why I have that range going up to maybe 2. And for the most part, a lot of those models that I showed you show the same thing. With those 1 to 2 inch amounts, northwestern South Dakota, the southeastern KELOLAND, maybe the models weren't as aggressive into central South Dakota, but, things do slow down a little bit. Would not be surprised if we do get some of those totals to get around an inch, possibly a little bit more. Can't forget about the wind, okay? Western South Dakota will get the wind for today. And as you can see, these wind gusts today, 45, maybe 50 miles per hour. Western KELOLAND. So this is Rapid City. Look what happens tomorrow. Back to 55 to near 60 miles per hour. And I think tomorrow is the day where everybody will have a stronger northwest wind. So what I've been doing and what I've showed you over the past couple of weeks when we look at that momentum transfer, and I'll see if I can bring that up behind the scenes here quick, is it's showing these types of numbers, okay, for wind gusts today and tomorrow in western South Dakota, bringing the wind gust today 45 to 50. Tomorrow increases the winds between 55 and 60. In fact, here is that graphic right now. So this is what we're looking at for today. Tries to bring that peak wind gust maybe around 50. That's a good average. It does have a couple of those models that are a little higher than that. The average for tomorrow, I just went ahead and said 55 to near 60. You can see we do have a couple of models saying, well, let's extend it up to close to 70. But the average coming in between 55 and 60, I'll just land on that for now. And this is Rapid City. Let's go ahead and show you where, according to the timeline here, if we just take that number down, should be later this afternoon. We can get that wind gust 50 miles per hour in Rapid City. And then as we get into tomorrow, it'll happen a little sooner. This is trying to bring things in maybe around the midday hour for our strong winds, that peak wind gust during the midday hour across western South Dakota. Let's go ahead and bring in Sioux Falls. So I'll just have to change the identifier, tell it to regenerate the graphics here, and we'll go ahead and scroll down. So this is the reason why I have this graphic here for Sioux Falls saying 50 to 55 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and go back to this website. There's that average right here with that inverted triangle. That's between 50 and 55. And some of the computer model runs are a little higher, but that's the good average there, between 50 and 55. We'll take that down the timeline. And that can happen around 5, 6 o'clock, maybe even a little sooner if we get a couple of these snow showers to develop. I would say if you're in or near these snow showers, much like what we had Friday, Sunday, that's when you'll start to see some of these peak wind gusts eventually try to come across your area of getting of 50 to maybe 60 miles per hour. Again, some of the strongest winds for tomorrow with these peak wind gusts will probably show up in central and western South Dakota. And the snow that we already have on the ground, okay, we do have that showing up north central, eastern, northeastern South Dakota. That can combine with any wind that moves through. Yeah, we could have areas of blowing snow for tomorrow. Now, again, we could add on to this, too, whatever that snow depth is. We could add on to that today, that we could see some areas of blowing snow. The best chance for that, trying to show up, of course, where we do have the current snow cover. Let's go ahead and go back to that map as you do see that into parts of central, north central South Dakota. Just trying to bring that, there it is, as well as eastern South Dakota, right along Interstate 29. Okay, we'll see if we add to that. Otherwise, the best chance to see blowing snow showing up across north central, we'll say east central South Dakota. So that is something that we'll continue to monitor as we do go through the day for tomorrow. Coming up in the next weather segment, we'll talk more about this cold air and the wind chills that are on their way. Stay with us. You're watching Weather. Welcome back to Whether or Not. It's time to talk about the cold and the wind chill. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. This is something that we've been advertising, I think, throughout much of the month. Can the second half of January end up being colder than the first half? That's something that I'll have to look into as we're on the 20th of January right now. So we got 4 days into the second half of the month, and temperatures have been cold. So I'll have to take a look at those numbers as we continue to go through this month and see what they end up doing. But I would not be surprised if that ends up being the case. Try to look at both, the average high temperatures, the lows, and maybe just the average for the day as I compare that. We'll try to bring that up later on. That's, something I'll work on down the road. But here's what's going on for our weather pattern over the next week or two, as we are looking at the cold air to come on in as we do hit Friday. Look at this. We are looking at temperatures that will be well below average. That's Brian Karstens' purple blob, if you will, coming in across the northern plains. Just looking at that just sends shivers across the body. So we are looking at very cold air. I mentioned this before, that Thursday could end up being one of those days where we do have falling temperatures, slowly falling temperatures during the day on Thursday. The Arctic front moves through for tomorrow, during the day tomorrow, strong northwest winds behind it, maybe a couple of snow showers. You can see here, even as we get into the second half of the weekend on Sunday, these temperatures are expected to remain well below average. Can we set any records? The day we're watching is Friday. I put this together this morning. I know we had this morning, it was 17 below for Friday morning. So I thought, I don't think it's, anywhere close to maybe setting a record, but I went ahead and looked at the numbers, and we're within 6. And of course that can change as Friday does get closer. So we'll see if we do get close to some of these records. Something else I should do is probably look up the top 5 coldest temperatures for the 23rd of January. Probably crack the top 5 for coldest temperatures. So that's something else that I could probably look into. But you do see that the record cold for Friday, January 23rd, a lot of us 20s, 30s below. We have the 30s below in northeastern South Dakota, as cold as 34 below in Aberdeen, as warm as, say, 17 below in Chamberlain, 19 below in Worthington. So we will continue to, maybe just keep an eye on this. I think, of course, there is that better chance of maybe entering the top 5. I'll take a look at some of those numbers. And, of course, the forecast can change as the day does get closer. Wind chills. Now, I mentioned Thursday. I stopped it here Thursday afternoon. Mentioned that Thursday will be a day with slowly falling temperatures as we do go through the day. So we'll probably have northerly winds that day. And you can see our wind chills even during the afternoon, -20s, maybe approaching the -30s. That's starting to show up north central, northeastern South Dakota. This is Friday morning, and this is a time frame that Brian and I have really tried to hit a little harder during the morning show. This morning, we'll probably do that again for tomorrow morning. But notice by Friday morning, these wind chill values are in the -30s, approaching -40 in northeastern South Dakota. We're at -39, Watertown. Now, this is at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's probably the time where a lot of people are just starting to make their way out, start their morning commute. Very cold. -34 for that wind chill Sioux Falls. What happens during the day? Well, yes, I guess technically it does improve, but we're still looking at wind chill values that are in the -20s and -30s at 3 in the afternoon. During the evening, same thing, and this is just jumping right into Saturday morning. You see our wind chill values in the -20s to near -30 on occasion. I think I go out to Sunday. Yes, I do. Well, that's Saturday afternoon. Some improvement in the -teens, and here's Sunday morning. Maybe a reinforcing shot of some colder air or the winds pick up to bring those temperatures back to the -30s in northeastern South Dakota. So we have a lot of cold air that's expected to come on in. And we'll probably have some cold weather headlines too. And here's a look at the 2 cold weather headlines. Cold weather advisory. That's when the wind chill values are -25 and colder. Frostbite can set in in, say, 30 minutes. And then extreme cold warning with those wind chill values at minus 35 and colder. When we get that cold, frostbite can set in on exposed skin in around 10 minutes. So we're talking serious cold by the time we do get into the later part of the work week, extending maybe into Saturday morning. It's something that we'll have to watch. Don't be surprised if you do start to hear cold weather advisories, extreme cold warnings by the time we do get into Friday. So I just want to show you or give you a recap as to what the definitions are of those two. We'll briefly touch about the weather pattern coming up in the next weather segment. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. We'll end here with the weather pattern. I have, about 2 minutes to try to fit this in, a little less than 2 minutes. I just want to jump right into this. This is the European outlook here for the next couple of weeks. Here's that cold air Friday, and for this weekend, slowly trying to get out of it. Temperatures in the single digits, maybe the lower teens. But look at that overnight low. It's trying to put us maybe now in the 20s below, but as you look at the extended, as we get toward the tail end of January and start February, well, those numbers are warming. And something that caught my eye is this, not necessarily that one. Let me just go back 6 hours, is this, okay? There's our cold air down to 21 below for low, 18 below here, single digits for this weekend. But, lo and behold, as we get into February, can we jump to the lower 50s? We'll watch that over the next couple of days, and we'll try to continue to bring in that information to you as well. Here's a look at the AI model. Now, I know it's a little hard to see, but it has the overnight low there at 18 below for Friday morning, staying below zero during the day. This is the AI in the European. What does it do here toward the tail end of the month, beginning of February? It warms us, not quite as warm as those numbers that I just showed you, but yes, it does warm us, trying to get us back to, what does it show there, the 30s, maybe the lower 40s for highs as we get into the last couple of days of January and the beginning of February. So there is some light there at the end of the tunnel. We'll just have to be patient. That's our time here for Weather or Not. Thank you for joining me on our latest edition. Have yourself a great day and stay warm.